Netanyahu's renewed war on Lebanon is placing an increasingly heavy burden on the Israeli army, as the conflict stretches its manpower, sharpens battlefield pressures, and deepens the strain on troops. After losing one soldier, 2 more Israeli troops were injured in a fresh Hezbollah strike, adding to the growing toll of the confrontation and underscoring how quickly the front line can escalate again. Hezbollah has stepped up its attacks on Israel as Iran once again reaffirms its support, signaling that the confrontation is widening and that the group remains backed by a powerful regional ally. The leader of the Iranian-backed proxy has rejected any talks with Israel, calling them a grave sin and drawing a hard line that leaves little room for diplomatic compromise in the near term. In the latest breach of the truce, Israel launched fresh attacks on Lebanon, further intensifying an already fragile situation and raising fears that the ceasefire could break down even further. Israeli airstrikes targeted areas north of the Litani River, according to Al Jazeera, in what appeared to be a renewed escalation across a wider stretch of Lebanese territory. Israel also targeted Jabal al-Batum in southern Lebanon, as reported by Al Jazeera, adding another location to the list of areas hit in the latest round of strikes. An Israeli drone was also reported to have targeted the town of Majd al-Zaun, suggesting that both air power and unmanned attacks were being used in the renewed offensive. Meanwhile, in a retaliatory attack, Israel also suffered setbacks against Hezbollah, showing that the confrontation continues to produce losses on both sides. 2 Israeli soldiers were wounded in a fresh drone attack in southern Lebanon, underscoring how quickly the violence is spilling back onto the battlefield. The IDF said the drone attack was launched by Hezbollah, and confirmed that 1 soldier was severely injured, highlighting the seriousness of the latest strike. The wounded soldiers were evacuated to a hospital for medical treatment, as military personnel rushed to stabilize them and move them away from the line of fire. Additionally, Israel launched an interceptor missile toward what it described as a suspicious aerial target, in a move that reflected the tense and uncertain airspace over the area. Hezbollah's drone attack came just 1 day after Israeli strikes killed 14 people in Lebanon, sharply escalating the conflict and deepening the civilian toll. Israel had earlier warned residents not to leave towns beyond the buffer zone, signaling heightened military concern and a growing effort to restrict movement in the affected areas. Hezbollah's Naim Qassem has rejected Lebanon's planned direct talks with Israel, setting a firm political line against any such engagement at this stage. Qassem called the proposal a grave sin that would destabilize Lebanon, according to the Times of Israel, framing the move as a dangerous step with serious consequences. Hezbollah's chief said, and I quote, "We categorically reject direct negotiations with Israel, and those in power should know that their actions will not benefit Lebanon or themselves. Back down from their grave sin that is putting Lebanon in a spiral of instability. These direct negotiations and their outcomes are as if they do not exist for us, and they do not concern us in the slightest. We will continue our defensive resistance for Lebanon and its people. There are those who advocate surrender. They reap gains at the expense of the destruction of their brothers and families in Lebanon and the occupation of parts of Lebanon. No matter how much the enemy threatens, we will not back down, we will not bow down, and we will not be defeated." Unquote. As hostilities flare up once again along the Lebanon or Israel border, Iran has vowed to continue its political and military support for Hezbollah, reaffirming its role as a key backer in the wider axis of resistance. On April 26, the commander of Iran's Quds Force, Ismail Qani, projected a tone of confidence, insisting that the regional resistance network is now stronger and more unified than before. Qani, speaking on the platform upscrolled, argued that the various resistance forces across the region have adapted to Israeli pressure and are operating with a higher degree of coordination. He also dismissed Israeli claims that Hezbollah has been significantly weakened by repeated cross-border strikes, portraying such statements as attempts to downplay its capabilities. The Quds Force commander stressed that Hezbollah is not fighting alone and is backed by affiliated forces from Iraq, Yemen, and other parts of the Middle East, forming a broader regional alignment. According to Qani, supporting Hezbollah remains a top priority for Iran as the group confronts ongoing Israeli Defense Forces operations inside southern Lebanon. The Lebanon-Israel truce, first announced on April 16, has since been repeatedly violated, with most breaches reported to have come from Israeli-side operations, such as Press TV. In response, Hezbollah has continued its own military operations, launching rockets, drones, and other attacks on Israeli forces and military positions along the border. On April 26, a Hezbollah-launched drone struck near Israeli troops who were attempting to repair a disabled tank in the town of Tabor, highlighting the intensity of the ongoing clashes. The IDF said the strike killed 1 soldier and wounded 6 others, describing the incident as part of a broader pattern of drone threats in the area. The military added that more drones were launched during the evacuation of the wounded, with one being intercepted and the other detonating nearby a helicopter and ground forces without causing additional casualties. These escalating clashes have led to tighter security measures in northern Israel, with the IDF tightening access restrictions in border communities and military zones. Authorities have also limited public gatherings to 1,500 people in areas including the Galilee near the Lebanese border, citing the risk of missile and drone attacks as the main security concern.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.